So it's Tuesday. I have Andrew Wong.
Yes, you do.
Yes, Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's still not Lashko time yet.
Not yet.
They still have a month to go.
Yes.
Any interesting things happening amongst the party animals, the party
Well,
politicians?
there is a little bit. I'll just get Execo out of the way first. John Song's off to the G20 meetings in Russia today as part of the China delegation. Don't expect him to play a big role, but he is somebody that I've been keeping my eye on for quite a bit of time now, and there does seem like signs that he's gearing up for an international role after politics, kind of like Margaret Chan coming to the WHO. So even though he's not meant to be a big player at the G20 meetings, I think he's one to keep an eye on.
That's true.
See if he kind of speaks out a little bit of what he says on the sidelines.
Yep.
More interesting, I think, what's going on with the parties, to come back to your question, Vincent. We're seeing something kind of interesting going on. We see a lot of the old guard throwing in their thoughts on how political reform should go forward, right? Last week, Fannie Law came out and started talking about runoffs, then Elsie Lung. More recently, talking about whether or not having a much, much, much bigger, like a 10, 20,000, 3.5 million person nomination committee, whether or not those things are feasible. And it's kind of interesting to see the old guard is still in there, but even more interesting is the fact that it's now even the youngest generations are starting to drive the agenda.
Yeah.
Scholarism came out, and they got the various Democratic parties to come and sign on with their plan.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't the old dogs telling the young dogs what to do. It was the young dogs that are barking now. And they're saying, hey, you come and sign what the idea that we're putting out there. And I think this is interesting. And on the back of all that, there was one other little glimmer of hope that came out, and this was a suggestion, but very unsubstantiated, that the government was going to be ready to move on starting consultations in January. And I think that's one, now that is out there, as I said, that landed very lightly last week in the middle of a low news season, the chief executive out of town. I think they wanted to see where it's going to go. But I think that's one for people to watch.
Yep.
Right? It seems like nobody could put any new ideas out because everybody's been talking about this for so long. But if there is word of consultation starting in January, if we can get official confirmation of that, you're going to hear the volume ramped up even louder.
Well, I think from very early on, including ourselves, we would understand that this particular political reform package or constitutional reform package, somebody would say it, is very important because this is it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the proposal that leads to the first universal suffrage process in Hong Kong, despite it's not the full process. I mean, you only generally elected the chief executive. The Lashko has to be afterwards. I mean, universal suffrage for the Lashko has to come after the chief executive election. But still, it's not the midway approach.
Right.
I mean, somehow you have to come up with a solution that is or that can be generally accepted, as well as by definition match the universal suffrage process and definition. So I think the key or the gist of the issue has already been said, is all about the nomination process. In particular, the nomination committee. And actually it's quite worrying because the Pan-Democrats basically said that the nomination committee should be all voters, which means indirectly they're scrapping the nomination committee.
Of course, that's the idea, is to get rid of it. They want everybody to be able to stand.
So basically they're scrapping the nomination committee, which is worrying. If this is the make or break point, that is very worrying. So I would pick nomination for today.
All right, well, this is definitely one to keep an eye on. So,
all right, we'll see how the nomination process will become the heat of the debate for the political reform.
Well, I personally, I'm going to be looking for confirmation that the consultations are in fact happening.
Okay.
Because then, then things are going to get crazy again.
Okay, we'll see.
All right.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Vincent.
Cheers.